Hello and welcome to my first review on this YouTube channel, Stab in the Dark Reviews. For this review, I wanted to look at my new Halloween 2 1/6 scale Michael Myers figure from Trick or Treat Studios. A lot of you guys probably already know about this figure. It's been out for a while. Recently, Trick or Treat Studios lost the rights to Halloween 2, and so this guy has been discontinued. So whatever's in stock is what's in stock, and once he's gone, you're gonna have to probably get this secondhand or off of eBay or from someone, and you know how people like to raise the prices. So I wanted to get one before that happened, and I got it from a really cool store, Classic Horror Shop. They also are tied to the michaelmyers.net website, which is like a blog and all about Michael Myers, super cool. But yeah, they shipped this out to me very quickly. It was here in just a few days. I was actually surprised, and the packaging and how they packed it was really well done. But without further ado, let's get into the figure itself. The first thing we want to look at is the packaging. I'm also a VHS and physical media collector, so seeing the front of this, having the artwork from the original VHS tape is super nostalgic. I think it's the only way you should have gone with this figure. However, I do really like also on the back this picture of Dick Warlock. He's got a scalpel, you know, he's in the hospital, which where most of this movie takes place, but I just really love that image on the back of this figure. So you turn the figure around. Also, one small upgrade, but something I really appreciate because I do collect the Ultimate figures from NECA, is that they gave you magnets for this front display. So you just pop it open and it opens that way. But let's open this box up here, and inside we have a really cool quote. "In order to appease the gods, the Druid priests held fire rituals. Prisoners of war, criminals, the insane, animals were burned alive in baskets. By observing the way they died, the Druids believed they could see omens of the future. 2,000 years later, we've come no further. Samhain isn't evil spirits. It isn't goblins, ghosts, or witches. It's the unconscious mind. We're all afraid of the dark inside ourselves." Let's actually go ahead and check out some of this packaging because it's just really cool. So again, here's that window display. Another picture of Michael Myers in the hospital. To me, the way to display this figure also is with that scalpel. I think it's just super cool. When I think Halloween 2, I think of the scalpel kill. I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say a basic kill, but it's definitely just the one that I think of when I think of Halloween 2. All right, let's get this figure out of the box and check it out. So this is kind of a small thing, but as a longtime collector, I have always opened my figures from the top. So that piece of tape that you get right there, I've always either peeled it off or used a knife to cut it and then open it. And I know it seems small, but I was watching the Review Spots channel on some 1/6 scale figures, and I saw that he opened his from the bottom. So you could just cut the bottom so that way you still have the top sealed. I know it seems small, I know, but to me, it just makes a difference. Anyway, we'll move this box out of the way for right now. And this is how the figure comes whenever you get him out of the box. And obviously we're gonna open them up here in a second, but they do put bags over everything, over the hands and the head, usually always. And notice that they didn't come on the feet, which my other 1/6 scale had it on the feet. But I will say one of the biggest standouts is the accessories that you get with this figure. Let's go ahead and get them out and I'll show you. All right, so now we got the figure out of the box, and I will say that after watching some other reviews and people talking about the coveralls, before I got the figure, I thought, man, I think they did a 10 out of 10, perfect. I have zero complaints. But upon receiving him and getting him out, and I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but the coveralls are the biggest hang up for me. It's not the color. I think they got the color perfect. I like, you know, the screen accuracy. The only thing that I can say that I know is wrong is instead of having 2 buttons here, it should really only have 1 on the left, and then so this one would be a male and then this one would be a female, and they have 2 male ones. I'm not super crazy about that, doesn't bother me too much, but it's the length of them. The collar is a little janky, I think over time maybe, but just pulling down on them down here will usually help just make them fit him and hug his body correctly. But what do you guys think? I mean, the color of the coveralls and the bullet holes, and I'm not sure on the accuracy of where they are located or anything like that, but just the look of the figure on its own is just impressive. Right now he's not, he's got the head sculpt that comes with him on, which is probably the thing that I think is the best on this figure. This is by far to me the best mass-produced H2 Michael Myers figure ever made. I mean, it's just so good. The sculpt, the paint, even, I don't know if you guys can see this, but even the weathering on his forehead that we all know that he has right there above his eyes. I like that his eyes are set into his mask, so I mean, it's all about how you pose this guy and how you light him, you know, whether you see his eyes or not. But I don't mind seeing a little bit of his eyes. You just don't want to reveal too much. So I'm going to get him into a pose, or actually no, first let's look at what all the figure comes with, and then I'll get him into a pose. So as far as the hands, you get 2 extra sets. Now I wouldn't call them complete sets. You get the 2 mauling hands that you see right here. It's a left and a right. And then you get 1 gripping hand, which is actually for the hammer and the knife and the syringe all in one. The knife just kind of fits back there in that groove, and then the hammer obviously will be gripped completely there, but the vein work and the weathering is just super good. I really like that a lot. I will say that the hands they almost seem to be a lot softer material than the other 1/6 scale figure I have, which is the 2018 Michael Myers. And then in this hand, you get his trusty scalpel. Now it does come glued in there. You can't really take it out. I actually took a razor blade because it comes turned the other way. And so I just nudged it out with a scalpel per a friend telling me how to do that on Instagram. And yeah, this is really just the way he would have wielded this in the movie instead of having it flat. So pretty easy to do, but always be careful. Don't go blaming me if you mess up your figure. So you get those 4 hands, and then of course you get the hands that are on his on him straight out of the package, and they are just 2 relaxed hands, which I think are just as essential as the hands for his weapons. Then as far as the weapons go, you get his hammer, which is super iconic for Halloween 2. Definitely something I would pose him with. It's got some good weathering and a little bit of grain going on there. There isn't really any blood. I suppose you could add it, but yeah, I mean, it's a good looking hammer. To me, it looks just like the one that was out of the movie. I'll definitely be using that. And here is his very serrated knife. I mean, what else do you need with Michael Myers except for a butcher's knife? Now, Mrs. Elrod might come looking for this, but it does have a decent amount of blood. I don't know if you can see that. My camera's not wanting to focus. Yes, it's got some blood on the end. There you go. I like the amount of blood they put on there. Sometimes I feel like with any kind of figure, there's sometimes too much blood, and I think just a little bit's nice. But as far as the sculpt of the blade, I think it looks great. And then one thing that's really cool with this syringe, other than the fact that mine seems to be bent, I may try and mess with that later, is it does actually have the indicators or markings here on the syringe, but it actually does open. So if you can see that right here, here is his syringe, and as you can tell, mine is pretty messed up, but it does actually come all the way out. So be careful not to lose that, but I will definitely be using this in the future. And then next two things we have to look at are the pumpkin. So the biggest thing I want to say about the pumpkin, other than the fact that I love it, is do not open this all the way. If you have the H2 Ultimate, which is right there, that one is designed to open all the way. This one is not. So do not break your pumpkin trying to open it all the way. It actually only hinges to about there, and you'll feel it. You'll feel it. So it's just opening up enough to expose the skeleton inside, or the skull inside. I love that you can see in there actually the insides of the pumpkin. It's got a really cool effect. You can keep it closed or open. But yeah, if you look on the back, the hinge, it does not want to open. It actually stops right there, and I've seen people break their pumpkins, and that would be really sad. So don't do that. And then we have his Blood Tears head sculpt. Now this is actually the one that I'm going to be keeping on my figure at all times. I think this is just, I love the Blood Tears. It's one of my favorite parts in the entire franchise, one of my favorite scenes. I think Michael Myers looks just awesome, although I don't know how he continued on in the sequels after having both his eyes shot out, because as you know, as far as canon goes, he can be disfigured, and he does carry his wounds with him. So I'm not sure how they got away with that one. There is no knitting needle mark that I can see on either of the head sculpts, but I really love the weathering, guys. I mean, this figure you really got to see in person for yourself. And again, you know, if you can see his eyes in there, you can see them just enough. And then the way the hair is styled is just perfect, in my opinion. So these do operate on a ball joint. And let's get this guy in some poses and show you exactly just how awesome he can look. So I was gonna get this guy into some poses for you, and I still will, but I thought it would be helpful to point out just a few things for you guys. Whenever you are swapping out the hands or anything like that, if you pull up the sleeve, let's pull his hand up like this, and if you pull up his sleeve, you'll notice that there's a peg right here. So that's where his joints are, that's where you get the articulation. If you just pull at the arm and the hand, the whole thing can come out. I like to just keep my grip right here and just wiggle, and they usually come out really easily. And then you can see the peg here. You can actually rotate this peg as well to give him some different points of articulation. But just keep that in mind. One thing you can do, I've never noticed it with 1/6 scale, but with Ultimates, a lot of times when you get a new figure, it's good to, a lot of times with figures, it's good to either use a blow dryer on low heat or just some running warm water to just warm up the plastic, because you definitely don't want to break any of the weapons or joints or anything like that. So same with the head. It's not really a big deal. These come off pretty good, but just pull them and there you go. We'll go ahead and just put this guy's other head on, and you'll hear it pop in place. So that's what he looks like. And I'm gonna give you guys some shots here in a second, but let's get him switched out real quick. Let's get some hands swapped out, and then we'll get some weapons. All right, so there he is with his scalpel and his alternate head sculpt. One upgrade, I actually don't know if the Halloween 2 figure came out before the 2018 figure, but I know the 2018 figure does not have double hinged elbows, and this figure does, which is really nice because that's a pose that I would really like to get Michael in. He can get his arm pretty much all the way folded like that, and you just can't do that on one that doesn't have the double hinged elbows. So definitely essential when it comes to posing a Myers figure, in my opinion. And here's a good example of what I was talking about with this coveralls just being not quite long enough. If you get him in an overhead position, you're going to expose that joint, and we all know he's not real. It's not a, I mean, it's a figure, but you know, I like to keep him looking as close to real as possible. But there's a nice pose you can do. You know, I didn't really make this video to show you guys how to pose them, but that is one of the fun things to do with them. You can always walk in there and, you know, have them in different poses. I always have these guys doing something different. But anyway, there is a lot to be said about this figure. Honestly, I could go on and on about him. I'm really glad I got him. His boots are accurate to the film. His coveralls, I mean, I actually like that they're shorter at the bottom, but his coveralls look great. The color is spot on. He's got his shirt underneath. You got multiple head sculpts, the jack-o'-lantern exposing the skull from the opening, and then all kinds of hands, accessories, and weapons. And so, yeah, I definitely recommend this figure. And again, like I said at the beginning of the video, he is discontinued now. So, and that's not just this figure, but that's anything Halloween 2 related. So if you're on Trick or Treat Studios website or another company that, you know, carries Trick or Treat Studios products, you might as well get them while you can, because they're not going to be here forever. Thank you guys for watching. I wanted to keep this one short and simple. I'd like to do more reviews in the future, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about this figure. Do you think this is one you want to pick up? Do you already have it? Or is it one that you would easily pass on? For me, there's no way I was going to pass on this figure. He's absolutely hands down one of my favorite in my collection of any scale. I would give this guy an 8 out of 10. It would be a 9 out of 10 if it wasn't for his coveralls being just a little bit too small. I don't really give anything a 10 out of 10 because nothing's perfect, but this thing is just about as close to perfect as you can get. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.